Welcome, Greek U Nation, to episode number 389 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Eilon, CEO of Greek University. I'm a speaker and an author. Our third book is called From Letters to Leaders, Leveraging Your Fraternity or Sorority Experience to Land Your Dream Job. So go and pick up that book today on Amazon. We call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there is nothing like great food to bring college students together. Fun fact, the best part of being a speaker on college campuses all over the country is the travel, the food, and the friends that I get to meet along the way. Our next guest gets to enjoy travel, food, and wine, not only across the country, but also all over the world. Today, we are going to meet Beverly Smirnis. The fact that Beverly and Steve Smirnis live, work, and play together is what first inspires some of their followers. Since they became a couple, the Smirnis team has enjoyed travel, food, and wine. Their backgrounds in public relations, marketing, and journalism led to published freelance articles, which earned them invitations to explore, taste, and toast across the country and all over the world. Their career path together actually started with public relations projects. The Smirnis team specialized in working with the winemaking industry and representing various fine artists. This later expanded into a niche magazine publishing career, which has been their focus now for a few decades. Key contacts and keen insights were built over their long history in print media. In the consumer world, this translates to luxury lifestyle, and in the home building industry they have long served, they are privy to resources, design trends, and best practices. Welcome to the show, Beverly.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure to be here.
Hey, this is a lot of fun. You know, you're involved in a lot of really fun niches that I know college students are looking at and they're going, hey, that would be really cool to live this kind of lifestyle. So I can't wait to talk a little bit more about how you got into all of this. But, I think we have to back it up all the way back to your parents who had this master plan for you and your career. I'm wondering, what was your parents' expectations of you before you left for college?
Well, it started like when I was really young, and I used to assemble the kids in the neighborhood, and I would actually write little plays, and I would assemble maybe 15 kids that would be in my cast of characters, and they'd perform these plays, and we'd perform them for our parents in somebody's garage. And everybody thought that was real cute, but my parents said I should be a CPA. And then I remember about middle school, I told my mother, I came home crying from school and I said, I just want to be popular. And her answer to that was, well, I was never popular either. And I just thought, wrong answer. That is not what I'm looking for. And then, later in life, when I went on a trip to Mexico and I met this guy from Canada, who hails of Greek descent and lived in Canada in a different culture and a lot of differences. My parents said, well, that's nice, but he lives in Canada and you live in Texas. Like, how's that going to work out? So I'm really proud to say today that I am not a CPA. I have a lot of friends and I'm still married to the Greek Canadian. So, when I started college as a business major, following the advice of my parents, I started as a business major. But when I took my first journalism class, I was really hooked. And then my parents said, well, that's okay. Journalism is a great background for becoming an attorney. And since you can argue so well and your point of view, like, you would make a great attorney. So they were still trying to have me on this path of some, traditional career that might be high earning, so that was their main thing. It's got to be like some traditional career that with a high income. So
my dad was exactly the same way. I mean, he actually gave me a copy of the New York Times help wanted ads, and there was like a ton of openings for accounting. And that was like one of the first jobs because it was letter A. And he's like showing me this, look how many jobs are available. And like in his mind, he was like, hey, you have to be an accountant, you have to be a CPA, and you'll make, unlimited amount of money, which, to a certain extent is somewhat true. I mean, you'll always have work as an accountant. And I actually got a degree in accounting, believe it or not. So I actually finished and completed. But then I got out in the real world and was like, this is boring as hell. I just couldn't do it.
I think we have to understand, where our parents came from, and even students today would need to, if they know the background. Like my parents were from the golden generation, and all you had to do to be assured of a great living was get a college degree in just about anything, and you were going to get hired. And their dream was to go to work for some big corporation, whereas our kids have seen, people that do that are very unhappy, very unfulfilled. They usually get used and cut out because somebody else buys the company. And so why should they aspire to follow that path?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. What's interesting too is you decided on Southern Methodist University for your undergraduate experience. I'm wondering,
Yes.
why did you choose SMU?
Yes, a very conservative university, but I grew up in Abilene, Texas, out west. And
Uh-huh.
so, I mainly chose SMU because I wanted to live in the big, exciting city of Dallas. That
Uh,
was my main reason. And I can't say that I was exactly the perfect fit for SMU, but I made the best of it. And one of the things that was, I was a bit rebellious, and my parents had grown up in Fort Worth, and I went to Fort Worth all the time to see my grandparents who lived very close to Texas Christian University, TCU over there. So I was definitely not going to TCU because that was just too familiar to me. But now I have to say I'm a huge TCU Horned Frogs fan. Our oldest son went and graduated from there, actually the year that they won the Rose Bowl. So I've been a TCU fan ever since. So I'm a bit of a turncoat, but um, it was really dumb luck for me that the journalism school at SMU is in their Meadows School of the Arts, which is one of the best arts schools. And unlike other universities, they usually put their journalism degree in the business school. So I guess that was kind of dumb luck. And so I had a lot of, my major was a lot of guest professors, because they really didn't. I mean, how do you teach journalism in school, first of all? Beyond the initial editing class, I did most of my, I got most of my credit hours by working for agencies. And I was fascinated with the agency world, or thought I was.
Got it. Okay, very cool. Well, listen, it all worked out. I mean, maybe you
Yes.
weren't a perfect fit for SMU, but the right major, the right place, everything just kind of turned out okay at the end. So that's all right. And there are so many college students that drop out of school these days. We're all familiar with some of the big names out there that have made, huge fortunes after dropping out of school, the Mark Zuckerbergs of the world and many others. If your child said that they wanted to have a gap year in order to figure out their direction in life, what would you as a parent say to that?
I would say go for it, because you don't, if you stick it out and you don't know what field you want to go into. I think the stupidest degree is general studies. Why would you pay $100,000 to get a degree in general studies? It's absolutely the worst choice. So once upon a time, as we said, that college degree was the meal ticket, the key to happiness and success in a career. That's no longer true. And definitely a degree in, I don't know what a degree in general studies might get you. Otherwise, if you do have a degree in general studies, you're going to do like you did and switch directions. But, I think a good alternative to a gap year, if you want your kid you really wanted to encourage your kid to stay in college, would be to study abroad. Maybe they can study abroad, and you're going to learn so much about life. There's a different way that people live their lives in Southern Europe, for example. One of my favorite places to travel to. There's so much that you can learn to them in spending time there, and maybe you can get some college credit in the process as well. So you're not completely ignoring that goal of finishing college. But the parents need to be prepared, because they may come back with the grand illusion of becoming the next entrepreneur. Like you mentioned, Mark Zuckerberg. There's also Bill Gates, Michael Dell, and Steve Jobs. That they were probably better served at not going back to college, because they had an entrepreneurial mindset. What they teach in college was not what they needed to become billionaires.
Yeah.
Or they might come to the realization that self-worth and innate talent in some area completely not within the scope of any major offered anywhere in any university is really what they want. Maybe they ran into someone like a relative of my husband's who left his corporate job in Canada, bought an olive farm in Greece, and is living his dream. So, I think parents just need to be listen to their children and really help them to pursue whatever course in life is their natural course. I'll even say for me, most of my roommates were journalism majors. And for me, it was the perfect path, but it was also common sense. It was so common sense that I went to class and took notes, and I figured that's what's going to be on the test. I never bought a book, never studied for a test, and I got A's, whereas my roommates who went to class, bought the books, it was not a natural talent for them, and they hated me because I was out partying the night before the exam, and they were home studying, and I got better grades than they did. And that's only because it was a natural path to me. And as a matter of fact, none of them are journalists today, So, I think it's important that we follow our natural calling.
Yeah, you make a good point there. I know you run the savvylist.com. Talk to our audience a little bit about the Savvy Life and how do you lead such a life?
Well, the definition of savvy is in the know. And I feel like, really blessed that I have the perspective that I have, because I see so many people, just following a track that they're supposed to be on in life. They go to college, and then they choose from at the end of college, they go get a career, and they choose from the available pool of people that are around them at that time to become their spouse. And then they have a family, and then things don't go necessarily according to that plan. They just expect to, it just to fall into place. And a lot of people end up very dissatisfied. The statistics say that, a very small percentage of people ever go on to would say it that, when they reach my age, I'm totally satisfied with the career choice, with the, my position in life, with my relationship. And, very few people can say that. So I think the savvy life is really a blessed life for those of us who choose to make decisions on our own and have the courage to take chances.
Mhm. All right, I like that. You also seem to have some strong connections with luxury brands, and I know that's something that our college students are very attracted to. So, to what do you attribute your success in this particular niche or vertical?
Well, I think that the people that have that passion for life really have an appreciation for the very best that life can offer them there. So that leads them to the luxury lifestyle. People that lead a savvy life, they don't eat at a restaurant or choose a wine on the menu just for the sake of satisfying their hunger. They want to know all about the choices, and they want to pick the very best that they could experience. So it's really about the experience of dining out, the experience of tasting a unique wine that's made from you want to know even the backstory about the winemaker and what their life is like. And, it's all about, that passion for pursuing the best. Similarly, you don't choose a house because it's 3 bedrooms and 2 baths. You choose a house that you live in because of the atmosphere, the drama, the spaces that inspire you, and the entertainment value that it might provide for all the people that you want to host there. So you're envisioning your life there, not just choosing a house because it fits your immediate need.
Makes a lot of sense. And today you help all kinds of business owners to build their brand. So if we take that idea of building their brand, how can a college student organization build a strong brand in order to attract more students on campus, for example?
Well, just be a standout organization that supports the idea of pursuing passion in life. Love yourself first, and love and support others, and be committed to helping people really become the best version of themselves that they can. Support their dreams, and don't be a type of organization that it's one way or the highway. Like, be open-minded.
Those are all really, really good points. And I like your idea about supporting people's dreams. I think, but we have to ask, that's step number one, is to find out what people want out of life and then show them how the organization can help them to attain it. But it starts by listening, right? It starts
Right.
by listening to what their goals are and then helping them achieve it as a cohesive unit. And I think that's what makes college fraternities and sororities so great, is that ultimately together as a group, we're much more effective. We have a lot more hands, a lot more resources, and therefore we can get better results as a team working together, depending on and leveraging all the different talents of all the people in
Exactly.
the room.
I
You
think I think that the best benefit of a college sorority or fraternity are those relationships that you build.
know?
And if you can help and support each other, that's fantastic.
Yep, absolutely, 100%. Now you're launching this new podcast. It's called People Pursuing Passions. Who are you going to interview on this particular podcast, and what types of discussions are you looking to have?
Well, I just finished taping a full year of the first season. And, my guests have ranged from college students pursuing a very unique paths to, people that have really made a difference in some line of work that they're doing, to people that are, that are reinventing themselves after a career. Maybe they're forming a foundation and their passion is philanthropy. So it really ranges. From entrepreneurs to artists to captains of industry to college students. So was one example. I interviewed a young lady who just graduated from Belmont Abbey College in North Carolina with a major that I didn't even know existed, motorsports management, and a
Wow.
minor in digital sport media. And now she's going to go to the University of Bologna Business School to earn a global MBA in supercars, superbikes, and motorsports.
Wow.
And she's one of only 10% of women in that exciting industry. And she's been a race car driver since she was 14 years old. She's been invited to participate in these cross-country rallies, and she's worked just about every position you could work on the track. So that's a perfect example of a non-traditional choice, living off the rails, really pursuing a passion.
Just like you, I've never even heard of that major. I think that's incredible and good for her for going out and following what, her dream is. I think that's fantastic. So good for her, man. I can't wait. You need to do updates. So maybe like
Yes.
a year later or 2 years later, go and find all these people and just be like, so what's going on now? Like, can you bring us up to speed on where your career is? I think that would be
Exactly.
really cool.
Another fellow that I interviewed, has always had a passion for tennis.
Uh-huh.
His career involved fashion. He had a multifaceted career. Um, and now he just got hired to be the tennis coach at a country club here, and that's a paid position for him in his retirement, that he's still living his dream.
There you go. That's fantastic. The other thing I really like about you and your husband is that you seem to be at a stage where you really want to pay it forward to other people. So, what's your advice to today's college students who are listening right now?
Just be open-minded to others and their opinions, and love them anyway if they're not fortunate enough to rise above the normal path in life. If you're one of those people that gets it, that gets what it is, just love and respect the others, and feel blessed that you're not one of them. No, bask in that satisfaction. And I would just say, God gave you a brain and equipped you with unique talents, and just remember that, and use them in the best way.
Mm.
Put them to work and live passionately, and find a soulmate that understands and agrees with you, so you can share that journey and path. Find a soulmate so that loves and understands the same things you do about life, and so you can share that path with them.
That's excellent advice. And I really like your ideas about just being open-minded. I think that's just so critical. I think that's the best part about being at a big college campus like an SMU, for example. It's traditionally certainly a very conservative group, but there's also all different kinds of people. I mean, you're in Dallas, Texas, you're open to the world, really. And being open to other people's ideas, I think, is extremely important. And if you go back to the origin of fraternities and sororities, it was all about debate back then. They really formed these organizations because the college campuses wouldn't allow them to debate issues on college campuses. So they just went off campus and had their debates there. And I think there's something to that. There's something beautiful about that, to be able to debate an issue, but at the end of the debate, we leave together, we leave in unison. And I think that's the magic of fraternity and sorority, is that we can debate these issues, we can come at them from different spots, but at the end of the day, we're one organization, and we're going to make a decision that's best for the organization. Hopefully, by building consensus, by having that debate and getting most of the people onto one particular side after that debate has been had. And I think that is really critical for the U.S. to be able to move forward. I think all too often we go off into our separate corners and we don't talk to each other. And to me, that is a very dangerous thing. I think we need to continue to have those debates, go out and seek other opinions that might be different than yours. I think that is what should be the true goal going forward.
Yeah, and I think too many organizations, whether they're political organizations, religious organizations, whatever they may be,
Mhm.
um, they want us to have and totally believe their point of view that's, on one extreme side of the point that they're trying to make. And so I think that people that do lead a savvy life, that do um, live life off the rails, don't allow other people to tell them how to think.
Mhm.
They know
Mhm.
they have enough confidence in themselves to to make their own decisions about those things. And,
100%.
and they lead with love, like we can love people even though we strongly disagree with some of their points of view.
Right. That's really what I'm getting at for sure. I go out and I talk about, let's say the dangers of, abusing drugs or alcohol, for example. And I know that, I'm speaking to 4,000, 5,000 college students. I'm not naive enough to think that they're not going to be using alcohol at some point. I know that that's going to happen for the majority of them, but I also want to give them the risks. I want them to understand, here are the risks. If you use this particular drug, just understand that this is a possible outcome. People are going to be free to do whatever it is that they like. I just want them to make informed decisions. So I'm ultimately teaching them how to think, but not telling them what to believe. It's just, here's all the information, and I want you to make the best decisions for you.
And if you do choose a path in life that leaves you satisfied,
Mhm.
you're a lot less likely to be dependent on something like drugs or alcohol to make your life better. It's an escapism, and I can understand why there's a lot of people that drink too much and do drugs, because they've chosen a path that doesn't fit who they are.
Mm.
They
Yeah.
need an
Well,
escape, you know?
you're right about that, in that I do think that most often when you see alcohol or drug abuse, that they're usually covering something up. There's usually some kind of trauma that they've had as a child, or younger in life, and ultimately they haven't dealt with that issue. And that we have to get to the root in order to solve that abuse. We have to get to the root issue, and I think that's ultimately what is on us as friends, as brothers, as sisters, is looking out for one another. And when we see those signs, trying to get help for that person. I think that is ultimately what our role and responsibility is, as a friend, as a brother, as a sister.
I think there's a
So,
lot of yeah, I think there's a lot of people that you know, when they get to my age, oh, I could have, I should have, I wish I would have. First of all, it's never too late to change that, no matter what your age is. But second, like learn to resist the path that pleasing others, or the path that someone else chooses for you. Uh, Live life according to your terms and use your own talents to do what you're supposed to do in life. And it's never
great
too late.
advice. Yeah, great advice. Now, we do love good food here at the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I know you and your husband love great meals. So I think I'm going to get a great answer to this question, which is, the next time I'm in Dallas, Texas, where should I go for a great meal?
Wow. Well, Dallas has so many choices.
Yeah.
We can't go to the beach or go to the mountains. So our entertainment is out to eat for the
Yeah.
most part. So there's a lot of competition. And I would say, first of all, when you come to Dallas, stick to Dallas. A lot of people that live near the Oklahoma border these days say that they live in Dallas. So get the true Dallas experience. Like, don't go to the suburbs. You got to experience the true flavor of Dallas, and the only way you can do that is in Dallas proper.
Yeah.
And to find the best restaurants, research who the local celebrity level chefs are, and find the small establishments. Go to a local place. Like Dallas people like to keep their favorite local places a secret. There's one establishment here that actually doesn't put a sign on the door. You have to know about it to find it. So I would say go to the savvylist.com, which is my website, and subscribe to our newsletter. And then while you're there, go to the contact us page and request a link to Dallas Dining Secrets. And I'll send you a list of where to go and who to know, and who some of those celebrity chefs are. And they're always opening, changing, doing different venues. So depending on when you're here, I'll keep that updated for you. So I'd love to share that with your audience.
That's fantastic. All right. So that website again is what?
It's the Savvy List, SAVVY. So thesavvylist.com. And the site in our newsletter will also give you links to the various platforms that the People Pursuing Passions podcast will post to, so you can directly subscribe to it too. And I look forward to continuing this conversation, man.
That's fantastic. So Beverly is offering all kinds of suggestions, especially in Dallas, Texas. Just go and sign up for her newsletter at thesavvylist.com, and Beverly will hook you up. So I appreciate that. That is amazing for our listeners. Thank you so much for sharing all of this great information today, Beverly.
And thank you, Michael, for having me. It was fun. I had a lot of fun talking with you.
Well, good. This was a blast. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed this conversation with Beverly, make sure that you like it on social media. Make sure you share it with other college students on social media. And we hope to see you on another episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. Thanks so much for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.